Alright, so, back in 2012, a little game called Cyberpunk 2077 was first teased, and in 2013, back when I was just starting out in college, we got teased with a little trailer for the game. Fast forward to 2020, December 10th, the game finally dropped, after 8 long years, and boy, has it had the hype train unlike any other. And today, you got me here, and a close friend of mine, Rain. We're both here to kind of give our first impressions, especially since I've been hyping it up so much and eagerly talking about it on the channel for so long. So, let's just kind of get the ball rolling, because I'm sure, as you've noticed, it's kind of been all over the place with the reception of it, for very, very many reasons. And I've never been this excited for a game in a long time, not since like Metal Gear Solid 5 and Fallout 4, and while I enjoyed those, the hype didn't live up. Not entirely, at least. So what's the situation here? What's the situation with this action RPG set in Mike Pondsmith's Cyberpunk dystopian world? One of the probably best authors and creators in this genre after this long. And I believe probably a good starting off point for us would be, let's just dive right in with the overall gameplay itself, because so many people have so many different thoughts and feelings about this going into it. A lot of people were expecting, oh, it's gonna be exactly like GTA 5 or you know, something along those lines. Is that really the case?
I mean, kinda. I can't dismiss that opinion super hard. Like, if I didn't know any better, I would have immediately said it's just a futuristic GTA 5 reskin.
Pretty much. I mean, if I honestly had to compare it to anything, I'd just say, you take GTA 5, you take Blade Runner or Deus Ex, and combine that with Fallout, you basically get what Cyberpunk is. And going into it, I mean, my initial impressions are, like, let's jump in with the gameplay on how, you know, gunplay works. A lot of people kind of feel like it's wonky or a little strange in comparison to other games or shooters. Me, personally, I honestly enjoy it. I enjoy it as much as I would be playing if I was on Battlefield or Siege or whatever. And, you know, for an action RPG, you probably wouldn't expect that to be, you know, feel as good as your typical first-person shooter. You have any particular thoughts and feelings about it?
I really like how a gun feels. It feels accurate, especially when you start getting mods and other pieces of equipment to kind of help you out. Mm-hmm. And even the irons alone aren't completely off. I think the only gripe that I'd have with it is that certain guns just don't live up to other ones. The way weapons scale in this game leave a lot to be desired. And even if you specialize in it, like I can run around with a pistol all day, and then eventually just get to the point where I can just one-tap headshot people without necessarily trying. That I'd ask myself, why would I ever hold an assault rifle or an SMG ever?
I have to agree with that, because there was a long period of time when I was starting off in the game that I found a revolver I really liked, and it only took one bullet to explode their heads of any enemy I shot. So I was literally just walking into groups of enemies, hip firing, and watching them pop left and right in just one bullet. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another good segue. It's I think you have a different playstyle than I did. I think you're also playing on PS5, I'm playing on PC. Well, that's another thing later.
That's an important distinction to mention right now, because as we've heard about the performance of the game, that's certainly a big point of controversy. So
yeah, the bugs. All of the bugs.
Right. Well, we'll delve into that more in a bit, but in terms of...
You ended up
go
using
ahead.
melee weapons, right?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything, if I'm being honest. I do like running around, running and gunning with, pistols, assault rifles. I like being aggressive with shotguns, and thanks to the GOG, bonus items of the Witcher stuff, I started off with that Witcher sword, the Black Unicorn, and as soon as I got my hands on that and tried it out, I'm like, oh, wow, this feels great. Just slicing and dicing anyone in my way, so this is one of the few games like this I've really ever gotten into melee combat right away, because, you throw Fallout to me, I do not care at all to try a melee build on that game. And, you work your way up in the game, and then you start finding the cybernetics and implants, such as the Mantis Blades and Monowire, and I think Gorilla Arms is another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, apparently there's a set of legendary ones that you could just find in-game, and once I got my hand on, said legendary item, I started trying them out, and it's a lot of fun to run around with Mantis Blades whipped out and just go really aggressive and brutal up-in-your-face combat on these enemies.
Literally turning yourself into a blender.
Literally, yes. It's just a shower of blood and limbs at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that too. The sense of gameplay options being able to let you kind of do whatever the hell you want to is what I like. Especially here in a game that has like 6 different fucking stats, because that's what it was. It was a tabletop game, right?
Yep.
And then they turned it into a thing.
Yep.
So I do feel like some of that isn't fully employed in the same way. Like if you think to yourself, all right, well, maybe I don't care much for guns. I want to be a hacker. Let me use my intelligence to just quick hack my way to victory. You can, but that only goes so far. So it's not like you'd be able to specialize in it so much that it'll drastically change your gameplay. The same thing with melee. I never had to touch melee as much as I needed to because of just how empowered my silenced stealth pistol gameplay ended up turning into. And the minute they ended up handing me a fucking silenced sniper rifle, I'm just like, well, I don't have to care about mechanics anymore.
Yeah. And I have to touch on that, actually, now that I think about it. I do try to do stealth playthroughs on some of these buildings when you go raid them, or some of these rescue missions. It is fun to me. I do like the quick hacking. I try to actually do okay, I'm going to get into the camera system. I'm going to ping all the enemies. Okay, I'm going to switch over to this camera over here, and I'm going to ping this explosive, or this item next to an explosive generator. And as soon as this guy gets near, I'm going to set it off, and then I'm going to stealth my way into the building. And yeah, you can do that. It's like an extra layer of challenge. But at the same time, it also feels so easy to just go in, guns blazing, and pop them all down. And some of the quick hacks don't exactly work as I think they're supposed to be working right now. Like, when I do, what was it? Blind their eyesight, whatever that quick hack is, where you could temporarily shut down their optics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some reason they just kind of stand up or like freeze for a moment, and then they go back to walking around, but you'll just see a symbol over their head of, the hack being affected on them for like 5 seconds. It's like, aren't you supposed to be like grabbing your eyes or something, or no?
Yeah.
But it does have its moments in combat. Like if I do, say for example, synapse burnout, that can at least hold an enemy off me if I start fighting ones that are too strong, so I could just focus on one at a time at least.
I can get that. I guess going back to the whole overall gameplay aspect, like I enjoyed what I was able to get. I never felt like I was ever lost. The map was very good at explaining where I need to go, what I need to do. If anything, it's almost too good, because there's never any inherent challenge for me to go look for anything. Kind of like the Thoreau murals or any of the NCPD like call-outs. Like, they're all there. Everything's just ready for you to just go do whatever. It's just all laid out for you. So I guess the sense of exploration was kind of, for me at least, the sense of exploration turned into, let me see how I can clear this entire city with the things that I can do. But at the very least, I I could do it. There was never any issues as far as playing the game, other than the occasional bug. I mean,
Right.
I did have a few instances where it did get in my way, and
Yeah.
it was something that was like, I think I have to restart my game for this one.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I got you. I do have to agree. Being able to actually walk through Night City, this is one of the few RPGs where I don't feel like I want to just rush to the fast travel stations and immediately zoom off. I actually don't mind running somewhere or getting on a bike or whatever and just riding to the destination, and I'll get distracted by stuff on the way sometimes, like, oh, here's a side quest you're getting called up on, or oh, here's what you actually mentioned, one of the NCPD requests of stopping some gang members from, well, usually you find them straight up murdering civilians in an alley or abandoned, what do you call it, parking lot, stuff like that. I genuinely didn't mind, and that might just be me because I've spent so much time over these past few months, these past few years, actually just kind of starting to learn about Night City through the tabletop game, and if I'm being quite honest, I think this is genuinely the coolest, most beautiful open world I have seen in a game ever, period.
Yeah, I definitely got to relish in all of the graphical intensity of it after I upgraded my computer not too long ago. This was the first game that I'd been able to basically push the graphical capability of my computer. And
Right.
I haven't had any issues with it. Like, the way the world renders around me, all of it looks good. Everything looks pretty. Like, the entire feel and theme of Cyberpunk is what it is. I didn't have to feel like oh, look at this dude that didn't render. Oh, my bike is polygons. Oops. Kind of like other games.
Yeah. We've definitely seen plenty of pictures of that lately, especially on social media, of what's been going on with like base PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah.
It's definitely pretty scary, but yeah, just to keep building on that, I simply put love this open world, and going around in it's an absolute joy and wonder. As someone who does play a lot of car games, though, I do have some things to say about the driving, especially between these certain types of vehicles. To me, riding on a bike, I don't know what it is, they feel like they are not as responsive as they should be. Their turning speed is not as good as a bike should be. I have to depend on the brake, and whenever I hit the brake, my rear tire is going to go whipping out and fishtail really bad.
I've had that too, but
Yeah.
it's a lot. I have it on the other way around. I think cars don't feel the way that they're supposed to. I can't drift or like hit a tight turn with a car than I could with a bike. At least with a bike, I can abuse that whiptail effect and kind of make a sharp turn when I need to. But
Right.
if I do it on a car, I'm gonna run into a wall.
Yeah, that's understandable. I hadn't really noticed up until now, but when you saw me get that hypercar yesterday, that thing, I don't know what it is, just whenever I try to take corners, it will spin out really easily if I go around a bend.
Once I ended up getting a faster car, I felt the same thing. I'm just like, oh, now I have too much control. Now my car is spinning out because of that.
Yeah, I almost think I'm better off using like a car somewhere in the middle, like a muscle car, or if you choose the Nomad path, you can actually, get the car back that you began with, and it's actually not a bad vehicle. And I'm starting to notice, oh, that thing actually did feel like it controlled pretty good. Maybe I should just stick with that, because it had that just right between the power and handling to me. Just to say in general, it ain't bad, but you could kind of tell that this is CD Projekt Red's first foray into this sort of thing. It seems like it should feel good, and some of them do, but others just, it's either too responsive or nowhere near enough. Is generally what I'm noticing with some of these cars, and I should.
I think this is CD Projekt second series of games other than The Witcher.
Pretty much, I think they do have one game outside of The Witcher, but besides this. But yeah, The Witcher pretty much has been their legacy and story up till now. If I had to say anything else about the driving, it's... I don't know about you, but I was kind of surprised that the top speed actually feels pretty slow still. Like, again, how I mentioned, I already have the fastest bike. You can actually get that very early on in the game. And I found the fastest car, and I own that now. Both of them top out at only around 200 miles an hour. I think the bike goes 198 and the car goes 207 or so. And I was a little surprised that, oh, wait, this is their top speed? I mean, these interstates and highways are really long in Night City. I kind of was surprised that it still feels a little slow to me.
It depends on the player, honestly. Like, because you'll never find yourself... I never found myself in a position where I'm going to be like, oh, my next objective is 2.5 kilometers away from me. Time to take the fastest thing and get over there. No, at that point I'd probably fast travel. But most things in the city won't necessarily need you to go that fast. And I think, just kind of touching on another bug, unfortunately, the way that the world renders, sometimes things don't pop up in front of you. Invisible vehicles or vehicles that haven't rendered because you're going so fast and the world hasn't caught up, I suppose. I've had run-ins where I'm on my bike and suddenly I get shunted over because a car just popped up out of nowhere. I'm just like, oh, oops.
I've definitely experienced that a number of times so far, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
I think maybe that's why like the top speed still feels slow, because it's enough to give you a sense of response.
Yeah, that'd be an understandable way of putting it. I could see that being the case. Before I forget, I guess picking up from there, it's worth mentioning. We should definitely cover the story actually before I forget.
Yeah, I'm about to comment on it.
I want to go ahead and get your thoughts on it first.
It's too damn short, for one. It is way too short. Like, I think they mentioned it was supposed to be like a 20-hour time constraint to get to that, and I think I got to it in like 15. I didn't mean to, because there were a bunch of other side quests, and definitely a bunch of other things for you to do, barring the story.
Yeah.
But as far as like the way that the story was written, like it was really good. Like it got my attention. I really liked it. I like the morality choices and everything about you and your character, and the things that happen as the story progresses, as well as how it gets from point A to point B. I think it just took me by surprise that by the time I got to the very last part of it, it's like, once you do this, you can't... Yeah, point of no return. Once you do this, you can't continue. And I'm like, oh. So this was the check off for me to start going to do other things then.
Yeah. And if you don't know this, some of the side quests do hold impact on the outcome of the game, from what I've read. Some of them will indeed change the ending, and it's very strongly recommended that you do actually do side quests.
Yeah, I mean, you also get some really cool shit when you do the side quests. You get some cool weapons.
Not to mention, some of them are genuinely good stories and funny ones, or ones that will tug at your heartstrings, stuff like that.
Yeah, they definitely build on the sense of immersion. It goes back to the gameplay and how the story just blends in together relatively well with introducing the effects of all of these cybernetic upgrades and all of these other aspects, and how it changes a character and changes the world around you and how people treat one another. Of course, that also goes without saying, the way that GTA 5 kind of handles police pursuits. Cyberpunk does not.
Actually, now that you mention that, yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms with the police.
It deviates because it goes on a tangent from driving and gameplay, and just the overall world is having enemy interaction and the AI. The way that the AI handles a lot of things, very clunky. It's very, now I'm not going to say predictable either, but it's very like, police in GTA 5 won't let you go away. You have to really lose them. In this one, you just have to walk far enough away or wedge yourself in a corner where they can't see you. And then all of a sudden they're just like, oh, I guess you got away. Fuck it. They just leave you alone. Then you go back to doing what you were doing.
I do have to admit that the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, wait, you mean to tell me that I could literally just walk to the end of the street and that'll be my getaway? From the cops?
Yeah.
That was bizarre to me, and apparently there is AI in the files for them to actually chase you down in their cars, and it kind of clicked in my head that, oh wow, they actually don't even get in their cars and chase you either. Huh.
I feel like it's because they don't get cars. If you've ever caused a crime in Night City, say you're driving and you just accidentally hit somebody because you hit that turn a little late, and oops, you hit a civvy. Okay, you got a 1 star. All of a sudden, 2 random cops will spawn. It's not a they happen to be there. They spawn on your location at random. I've literally seen them just in a corner, like they were jerking off in the corner, and they just happened to be there.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm like, what? How did you? Okay, fine. So I'll just walk away. Or hell, if I'm in a rush, I'll shoot them. But if I shoot them, guess what? More people spawn. So it's like, okay. It's only until I think it gets to like 3 star, 4 star that they actually send in people that are viable threats, and 2 bullets will kill you.
Oh, Max Tac rolls in at 4 stars, and that is actually scary when they roll in, because they really will hunt you down, and their weapons and everything are so strong that your one little mistake will get you killed by them. You'll pretty much see the Cyber Psycho squad roll in, like from the teaser trailer. That guy will come literally just running at you, ready to destroy your day.
Yeah. I mean, I had impulses just for the sake of humoring the world and seeing just how much bullshit I could get away with if I just went on a rampage. And sometimes I'd get far, and sometimes I wouldn't, just because I'm wedged in a newspaper stand and they just can't walk inside or throw a grenade at me. It's hilarious.
Right. That's a pretty good point. But yeah, that's another element of the gameplay probably should have nudged at. And in general, the AI seems to be at one or two of 2 extremes. Either they're really just kind of dull and don't have much going on, or they've got the most pinpoint accuracy. Their weapons are like, you know, it depends on what guns they might have. They might have one of the smart guns that are literally curving bullets into your cover, and you're like, oh god, stop it! And then you have to start thinking really hard on your feet, and you're clearly outmatched. But other times, yeah, you walk in on those gangs, you literally can just kill them all before they know it.
Yeah. There is a distinct difference with difficulty on harder levels. Like, I know some people might have gone into the game and they're just like, oh, I'll just play it on normal, I'll play it on hard. There is a distinct difference with how weapons will feel and how enemies are. It does become more of a nightmare if you're not, at the very least, framed into a specific category of items, and you do have to take certain things differently. But it can be a little one-sided. Like, if I'm playing on my normal gameplay, and suddenly I decided to say, let me just pull out this random assault rifle, let me just see how it feels. It can be a little lacking.
Yeah.
Versus me pulling out a different weapon.
I don't think there's any denying that some of these weapons, it might just at the end of the day boil down to the highest DPS. The biggest number that you see, okay, that's it. That's the gun to go for. You don't even bother with the extra stats. At least that's sometimes the feeling. Some of these guns I definitely am noticing that I like more than others. Like, the guns that penetrate through walls. I really love the rifle I just found. It's basically like a shotgun / assault rifle in one.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. That gun's probably going to be riding with me through most of the game at this rate. And before we forget, I guess we should touch on a little bit more on the skills and leveling up. Do you feel like all these categories of skills that you have, the cool, your strength, your intelligence, what are the other two? Engineering, I think. I feel like I'm forgetting one.
Technical ability and intelligence.
Yes, technical. And all of those, some of them, you definitely feel like when you go into those trees and start upgrading your attributes, some are way, way more valuable than others, it seems like. Because a lot of skill...
It's a little vague.
Hmm?
I think it's a little vague. To me, at least.
Yeah. If you really want something decent out of a lot of the skills or perks, it feels like you need to at least hit rank 8 or 9 for some of them, so it starts expanding out your options more. I noticed that a lot of the skills do just boil down to, okay, here's a 3%, evasion chance increase or something like that, while other ones are like, here, use this, and now you have this whole new ability to work with in your gameplay. It's like, okay, that's handy. I'll gladly take this over a 2.5% movement increase for during this very specific scenario. Just stuff like that. And some of those abilities are important because, you upgrade your strength, now you can force doors open. Or you upgrade your intelligence, now you can hack your way through certain things. I feel like that's where the most value for a lot of stuff comes from.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if it deviates off of what it was with being a tabletop game, I think it was all supposed to, at least I don't think it's a single player tabletop game. I've never heard of that before. So I'm to assume that you would have had of a D&D-esque party. You'd have a hacker, maybe somebody who's good at shooting, somebody who's good at stealth or something. Like, if this was like a co-op potential, then sure, I could have seen it being something, useful. But it takes on the Skyrim route, where just the more you get better at a specific thing, the better the more that's available to you. Because it isn't even just you leveling up those perks. You get passive level ups as you level up a specific thing.
That's an excellent point, too.
And then you get an actual perk point to go with it.
Yeah, because as you use certain things, like, as you mentioned, you work with handguns a lot, your handguns are going to have a separate level up. And if you work on stealth a lot, that's a separate level up, too. And it works on every type of weapon and, various things, even down to crafting. I think there's even one for, what was it called? Cold-Blooded or Annihilation, where you're just straight up murdering everything, all enemies. I believe that's
right. But it is, yeah. It basically just rewards you for killing people, and you get passive buffs the more you start murdering things. Yeah. Which is cool, except there's an entire tree dedicated to it, so it makes it feel like, okay, well, I do have a bunch of perk points, which I think I myself have a bunch right now. I think I have three spare levels and like 17 perk points, because I don't want to put it in certain things. They just don't benefit me, or they don't matter for me to invest it.
I'm actually starting to bank them for situations I need. I'm just holding on to these level points, and like the next time I walk up to a door and it's like, oh, in order to break through this door, please have 10 technical ability. Okay, well I'm already at 8 and I have 2 points on backup, I'll just slap them in there now. That's what I'm starting to do at this point, I've noticed.
I found myself doing that in the story too, but I don't think that's inherently necessary. That's just us.
Yeah.
If another person was like, oh, well, I'm a brute force kind of guy and I went with gorilla arms and I just punch the shit out of things when I want to, so I have nothing but body. And guess what? I can avoid an entire fight just by threatening people. Like, because you have so much body that it doesn't matter. You're literally an intimidating, hulking force that every door might as well be open and you can just punch your way to victory. That if you couldn't open a door through technical ability or hack anything through intelligence, it wouldn't matter to you, or it's not really that much of a detriment or a loss if you couldn't. So I can kind of appreciate that much where if you did focus in a particular thing, it's not completely one-sided. I went with a balanced loadout at the very beginning of the game,
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
to myself, hey, I feel like I'm probably going to need this. One's going to be something about dialogue options. One's going to be about stealth and guns. So I haven't seen enough in the game for me to know how to do that. So I'm just going to take a balanced route. And then eventually, as I got up, the more that I kept playing, the more that I realized, hey, I'm basically doing the exact same thing that I mentioned at the beginning. I have basically 8 to 10 in every single stat.
That's honestly exactly what I'm doing too. When I started this out, I pretty much made it a fairly even all across the board skills. And I do generally try to talk my way through things. I like doing that in games like Fallout New Vegas. I like having my speech up so I can try to, wiggle my way through things, but in this game, I guess cool and reflexes, both of those do kind of affect dialogue, but I don't think I've noticed it to a big extent yet.
It's not, which is kind of nice. You get, like, whenever you make any kind of decision in a story or in a side quest, you have your yellow dialogue boxes, which push the thing, and blue dialogue boxes, which give you a little more information about whatever it is that you're doing. Yeah. I've only ever noticed these ever affecting blue dialogue boxes and never main dialogue boxes. The only time I've ever seen it is it's very few. I think the Delamain quest line was kind of like that, where you could have used some of those points to progress it in a different way. But I can't think of any other situation other than the starting perk that you chose at the beginning of the game. Your street kid or your corpo or your nomad, those pop up dialogues unique to you, which I thought was really cool.
Oh yeah, I like that too so far. Have those choices actually been affecting the story, you feel like?
I think so. To a degree, at least. It makes it changes the sense of morality of the character that when you're playing as V. It changes kind of how he treats the world. Like, it's his perspective that's being changed because of that decision at the beginning with how you start the game.
Yeah.
I think you started as a nomad, and it gives you an entirely different, like, starting quest too, I think. Like, the opener is different. I think you had to do some, you had to do some delivery when you were doing nomad stuff. I think it was like a delivery gone wrong or some shit. I have no idea. I didn't play a nomad story.
Essentially, yes. That's pretty much what happened.
And Street Kid was pretty similar, where, you're in the city, you're in Night City, and you have like a gig that you do, because that's how you're trying to make it big.
Exactly.
So it's nice, and I like the whole thing where recurring characters will come back when it comes to characters and feeling invested in the people that are around you. Like, it genuinely does feel like every location, every fixer, every main person in the story is relevant.
I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly. And I know we kind of went off on a tangent from this earlier, but just to quickly touch on the story again, I'm absolutely 100% invested in it all the way. I love what I've seen so far, and it gets you pumping at a lot of points, or kind of shocked. In general, I've definitely predicted a lot of the story beats, but I've been blindsided by a number of them too. I wasn't expecting, well, the problem that V has to suddenly pop up, or at least the way it did. That caught me off guard, and it definitely gives you a lot of motivation to proceed onwards. There does come a point in the game where it kind of feels like things are on a timer. They kind of at least make it seem that way. But I don't think you actually are on a timer. It's just kind of there in the background telling you what's up, so to speak.
That actually does have something to do with the side quests that you're doing, because the more that you do with side quests, certain side quests will introduce the other half that pops up later, and when those dialogue options pop up, it's supposed to be pertinent to V's development. I forget what the thing is called in his character map. Like, it's when you open up your inventory and you have like the entropy aspect. Yeah, little 3 symbols that pop up, and I think those grow to a degree depending on the stuff that you've been doing with side quests.
Right.
But it does give you, dialogue options to kind of feel for what they're talking about.
Yeah. And before we forget, how do you feel about like Johnny Silverhand and Keanu Reeves' performance, and just like voice acting in general? To me,
That's
he's...
hard. No, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, to me, they definitely make Johnny come off like a... let's be honest here, a dick. But at the same time, he's a really fascinating character. I really enjoyed the time with him, and I almost wish there was more. And I'm only 20 hours into the game. I only just got to Act 2. I've definitely been taking things slower and exploring around a lot more. Like, I roamed around during the prologue and Act 1 for a long while. But now I'm starting to get exposed to him a lot more. And I'm always just kind of intrigued to hear what he has to say, and his predicament that we're involved in, so to speak.
Right.
And I think, honestly, Keanu just... he did really good. If you like his performances, you're probably going to love this, too. It's a bit strange seeing him in a role acting like this, but I love it at the same time. And
I definitely feel like he threw really good. He did really good with his character. Like, for what they wanted to introduce with this character. I'm not used to it. I think that's what's throwing me off the most, and I think that's what I was trying to convey at the beginning, and I couldn't just put it into words. But having Keanu be in a role like this definitely put me off, just to hear the way that he speaks. I know it's Johnny Silverhand's character, but to hear Keanu saying things that he's saying, it threw me for a loop. I'm like, oh.
No, that's totally understandable, honestly. But I've been getting such a kick out of it. I enjoy the company. I'll put it that way. And
I like the alternate perspective that's been given through V's perspective and Johnny's perspective clashing together. It makes sense.
Oh yeah, especially considering everything going on. So, I'm thoroughly invested. I cannot wait to see more. I'm just itching for more. I honestly want to go back and keep playing more right now. But we'll see where it goes by the time it's over, because I know there's multiple endings as well, and your choices are going to affect that. And to kind of pick up along the same lines, just really quick, I think all the voice acting in general is pretty excellent in this game. Just everyone's pretty convincing. It all sounds great. Every person you meet feels like they have their own individual identity that stands out, and you'll definitely feel something towards them, some sort of fondness or loathing or any of that, and you could definitely tell the emotion in their acting.
I agree with that. I like how they've conveyed emotion through it. I think my only gripe would be certain lines get repeated when it comes to AI, like just normal enemies. Or if you're in a stealth mission and they're in combat and they're aware and they try to look you down. I can't remember how many times I've heard, "Come on now, we don't just want to talk," like every 2 seconds. I'm like, I get it, shut up.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on there, honestly. Absolutely. But since we are talking about voices and sound, maybe we'll just go on real quick to music, the soundtrack, and the overall sound design of the game. From, everything on the street, the city, weapons, all of that. What do you feel out of it right now?
I think it's a pretty good sense of immersion. Like, you think as just a normal gamer or as just like a normal player, going into a world that is supposed to be a kind of dystopian future kind of thing going on. I don't know if that's like the right word for it, but like it's expected to see a bunch of different colored lights. You have a bunch of people. Like if I'm walking through a crowd, like if I'm in, I think Jig Street was the name of it. It's like a baby Chinatown, and I'm walking, and I'm seeing this chick with fucking like robotic legs that bend inwards and shit, and another character 2 seconds later with like different prosthetics. Like it's cool to visually see that the world is fitting for what it is. It's cool to see how they implemented technology, because that's what it is. It's all cyber and futuristic. Having a character's eyes light up when you're making a transaction, and everybody's got it. So it's not you as a player. It feels world immersive to have everyone else, even just random NPCs, interact in a similar way. And like the sound effects feel spot on. I think maybe for the guns they could be a little lacking. I think the only time it's been ever different would be like a sniper rifle sounding like an op. But for the most part, most of the sound effects and everything that's fitting of the game's world sounds really good to me.
Yeah. For those of you that probably was into the tabletop, it's gonna look probably how you probably always dreamed and sound for the most part like you've always imagined. If I had to touch on the soundtrack, I'd say every single track has been a banger. I haven't heard one that I'm like, change the station. I love listening to everything, both from the artists that they hired to make original music for the game, to play on the radios, and they always fit every seedy setting or high-class rich area, every kind of lifestyle or backstory, to the orchestrated, music that you hear when you're in combat, or the main menu's playing, all of it. I would hold this soundtrack on the same level that I hold Doom, Halo, what do you call it? Ace Combat, Uncharted, Skyrim, stuff along those lines. I hold it very, very highly. The artists they hired for that did not miss a beat, not one bit. I give them a lot of praise. The only thing I might say could be expanded upon is, like he mentioned, some guns might sound a little iffy. But for the most part, I spot on nailed this category. And I think the next point to kind of roll into really quick. You briefly pointed out the graphics. How do you feel about its looks and performance again, especially on your PC?
I mean, being on PC, things look and feel great. I don't think I've ever had anything be that wasn't a bug. Don't think I've had anything just not show up or not interact with me. Everything looks good. I don't think I have like the ray tracing aspect on it, but it looks good. It looks solid.
I gotcha. I've definitely seen footage of it on PC, and it certainly makes my jaw drop watching some of these settings and situations. I'm thoroughly impressed, but in terms of me... Oh, no, you go on.
I think just one thing to touch on was lighting effects could be a little odd. You'll be inside a room and the sunlight is coming through, and that shit will be blinding. That'd be like the only thing that I've noticed that would have been like touchy as far as how they implement weather and how they implement like the lighting effects.
Like crank down the bloom or something.
Something like that, yeah. The bloom definitely made it to where I can't even look through a doorway, or I have to make sure the sun isn't in that general area, right, so I don't get blinded.
Right.
That'd be it.
That's totally understandable, and for being called Night City, I'm guessing it really stands out even more at night, with all the neon, the advertisements that just kind of tower over you larger than life. stuff like that. It does look absolutely beautiful. But just to quickly pick up, I did play on PS5, but I'm only playing through backwards compatibility, so technically I'm just playing the PS4 version on PS5, is how I'm doing it right now. And generally, I think it looks amazing. Again, I'm just in awe of the settings and everything, but I do notice when I look closely at stuff, like say when I have B walk in front of a mirror, you'll notice things like his beard looks half spawned in, like the hair's half rendered, it looks like sometimes, or it's half transparent, I'll put it that way. Just certain things are appearing kind of low res or a little fuzzy. That's probably the biggest offense I've noticed in terms of graphics. It definitely does look like it's a PS4 game just trying to be pushed to its limits on the hardware. But thankfully for me, it's running at flawless 60 frames per second and no problems until some of the bugs start rolling in. I think we have to mention this because it's a very important point. What's the severity of the bugs for you?
It's still relevant to me to an extremely high degree. I couldn't, barring the whole aspect of this game being amazing to me, and just because I enjoyed it, and I'm still gonna enjoy it, but the bugs have definitely gotten in the way of a lot of different aspects of this. They're not. Some have been invasive, and others are just negligible. But the invasive ones definitely take a lot of things. A good example would be like if you had any interactions early game with Johnny Silverhand, and you get the little relic malfunction pop up. You get a debuff. That debuff forced my character to be at 0 health. Like 0 out of 0 health. And it wasn't actually like that. It was just that's what the heads-up display would show me. So if I got into a fight, I wasn't dead if somebody hit me, but I couldn't see what my health was. I had to restart just to see my health again.
Yeah.
Or having instances of being able to pick up items. And this has been an issue for me. I didn't see it whenever you played, and I don't know if that's just a PlayStation difference. But on PC, it does feel like if I want to pick up certain items, I can't loot certain things if they're wedged into the ground. The Delamain quest, where you were just constantly looting really good resources off of the mech robots, the little drones. I couldn't touch any of those because when they got wedged into the dirt, when they died, I couldn't loot them. So that was like a bunch of resources that I missed out on. I mean, it's not hurting me, but it does suck that I can't pick up certain things, or I have to jump and land on the platform just to pick up a few Eurodollars sitting on a table. Like, Sun stuff kind of sucks.
Oh yeah. When doing that quest, I was a little annoyed that some of the enemies were literally those drones' bodies were flying outside of the wall when I killed them, or some of them I just straight up couldn't pick up the item, or they'd be floating in midair. And I think on another quest, you saw me doing the brawl against the 6th Street guy, and after the quest ended, I think I was supposed to just basically kill him after he, went back on his word and tried to betray me. But something happened where he just went down and I couldn't interact with him at all. He apparently wasn't entirely killed, he was just neutralized, or non-lethally taken down, I should put it that way. I'm like, well, there goes 12,000 eddies.
Yeah. One of my cyber psychosis investigations, they're like, go to the bridge, and there's a sniper. I already handled that. I already took him down. But the game still thinks, oh, go investigate the bridge anyway. There's nothing here. I already did it. I already sent her the text about it. Like, I'm done. It's over. He's gone. He's not even in the world anymore. When I went back later, he's gone. He's not injured. He's not in that state where he's neutralized. No, he's gone. Just like, but the game still thinks I still have that quest ready. And I'm like, am I gonna be fucked over the quest line when I'm done? Because I'm supposed to hunt down 17 of these dudes. Am I screwed now because he won't show up? I don't know. I don't know if that's part of the bug fixing that they're going to address later when they actually do implement it.
We'll see, because January, they're all, CDPR is finally like letting them take vacation right now, and they said the roadmap's like, I guess one update a month, a big one in January and a big one in February. So anyone who's waiting, you know, or thinking that they need to be itching to play the game right now or worried about the bugs, just know that, yeah, they got another big one planned on their little roadmap or whatever it's going on. But just from my end, for me, the bugs so far, pretty much the worst offender affecting my gameplay has been, yeah, like I mentioned, that neutralized body I encountered last night of, well, gee, dude, thanks, you just made me lose all the money I had. All of it. And then the crashes. In total on PS5, I have ran into, I think, 10 crashes now. Because I had another one after the stream ended. But that has been 10 crashes and I think 22 hours of gameplay total. And it's not too much in the way. Thankfully, the auto-saving has had my back really well about that. Really, really well. So I've never had to, you know, retrace my steps that far. It's usually very close to where I left off. But still, that's annoying, and if it's like this on this console, then I can have an idea how frustrating it is for PS4 players, because I imagine it's even more prevalent there. But beyond that, I mean, generally the glitches so far are, oh, NPC spawns in weird, or you just see him sliding across the ground, or, oh, look at this billboard, it didn't load in right. Or, oh, my bike just spawned in underneath a car. That's pretty much the extent of it. I haven't had anything like a quest broke on me, or I couldn't get an important quest item. Nothing like that. Nothing not spawning in that needs to. I've been able to go along through all my quest lines just perfectly fine. But in terms of you, how do you feel about the state of that? And is there any others that you've encountered that's, you know, interrupting your gameplay flow, or is it just kind of laugh and carry on?
I think I might have commented on it before we even did any recordings. There was an instance where I would go into a place and do a gig and wasn't given clear instructions on, hey, by the way, I need you to be quiet about this objective. I need you to actually do stealth. Don't kill anybody. Oh, as he's already standing in a pile of bodies. Oops. Oh, well, you did it, so good job. Next time, don't fuck up. I'm like, oh, well, alright. Time to just carry on.
Yeah.
Some things aren't always clear. Not game-breaking, but, you know, it's whatever. It'd be like the equivalent of having a PSO2 mission pop up and talk about killing a boss, and then, oops, you had to capture it. Oops.
Yeah. The game hasn't exactly done... Sometimes it does a poor job of conveying that the target should be neutralized, and if... or non-lethally taken down, and if you actually do go on a killing rampage, they're like, gee, thanks, I guess, but try not to be such a screw-up next time, alright? It's like, are you kidding me?
A question, actually, and this is just a general thing. I like my hair, and I'd like to be able to wear a helmet without covering up my hair. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with like RPG elements of wearing an item but then having it not show your helmet.
Oh yeah, kind of like have it in place but turn it off visually.
Yes. I don't know if that's actually a thing. I tried to go through the settings and I don't know if I'm blind and I didn't see it, but I can't do that. So if I want to actually have my hair out, I can't do that because settings not there for it.
Yeah. I think you could compare that to games like Mass Effect where they allow you to take them off.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, if I want to do that, sure, but I also don't want to look like a monkey with the silly motorcycle helmet.
Yeah.
But give me the stats. I need armor. People are shooting at me. I need things.
I guess that's a little subject right there. Are you going with style over substance, or are you just like, no, I need the stats. I don't care. I have to have the stats.
I'm a mix of both. Like, I'll send you a screenshot right now. Maybe you can use that with your thing. But I look silly, but I like the stats that I'm given. So I'm kind of like, it's whatever. It's not like my character's actually going to show up in cutscenes or anything. So it's not like I'm actually going to see my character when things happen. So it kind of seems like a negligible thing for now. But I would like to have something, cool. Like the jacket's cool. Everything else is like, oh, I don't know what I'm wearing. I look like a clown.
That's understandable. I try to... If it's only a small amount of points difference, I will go for style over substance sometimes. And I gotta be honest, I think all the hats are just freaking ugly. The closest thing that I found to even remotely acceptable is wearing a freaking do-rag. I'm like, I don't want this samurai helmet. I don't want this little fedora. I don't want this, funky mask on my face. No. Stuff like that. I've been trying to combine it because, I mean, with as much as you're driving around, yeah, you'll see your character in third person a decent amount, especially if you're on bikes. Then you really will. And supposedly there's a number of cutscenes where you actually do get to see yourself from third person, but I've only noticed a few in total.
I don't remember any.
I want to say them, but I don't want to spoil anyone.
It's okay.
That actually is probably one last important point we should talk on. The fact that, everyone... It was a big point of controversy about third and first person. What's your perspective on the whole thing now after having played it?
As far as what? The perspective?
Yeah, a lot of people are like, why isn't this in third person? What's the point of customization if I can't be in third person? This game's not going to do well. I'd rather be immersed in third person. I'm like,
Yeah, basically that right there. It's not gonna kill the game if it was, or if it wasn't, or if it had the option. Cool. I mean, cater to both the clients of first person and third person. I mean, it's not to the same degree like GTA having a third person perspective or some shit. Like it's not the same. And I don't know if this is one of those cut them a break for trying to do something akin to another thing. We're not calling it a carbon copy. It's nice to say something else inspired like the Genshin Impact that Breath of the Wild inspired, quote unquote. So to have another game trying to implement the whole big city GTA style or Saints Row big city style, like it's nice to be able to see it. But I think if they were going to do anything about it, then they would have taken the Saints Row route of being able to actually have a third person view of what you were doing. But it would have probably changed how the game mechanics work, so I kind of understand why things are in first person.
Yeah. I understand why, and I've listened to the creator of, the Cyberpunk 2020 tabletop talking about this whole decision and everything, and I gotta agree, I think the immersion from this first-person perspective is amazing. It's strange to be able to play a game that's essentially got a lot of elements like GTA, a world that's so massive and vast, essentially, that you really can just get into all this trouble and encounters from this perspective, and it does keep me engaged more. I don't think I would have gotten maybe drawn in as much from a third person. I think ultimately it was the way that he envisioned, this experience to be, and it was portrayed very well. It's just, the biggest drawback or disappointment on this game is a few of those shortcomings and the bugs. Overall, what do you feel like your thoughts are on the game so far? Your overall impressions and what you would say to somebody thinking about getting it at the moment, just from what you've played so far.
The game is fun. I mean, we're gonna. If I were to ignore the bugs, the game is fun, and that's what's important to me as a player. I want to be able to enjoy the game the way that I want to play it. It's not Warframe. I'm not trying to build the ultimate DPS machine, but give me a good gun. make the mechanics of the game make sense to me. If I want to go in stealth, make it work for me. And all of those, despite some of the AI being a little iffy, the way that the game plays and feels great to me. So I don't have to feel like I'm struggling to get anywhere. And because enemies scale, and they also drop some pretty useful stuff, I never have to feel like I'm left out. It'd be nice to, maybe Skyrim loot shit if I see something on an enemy that I like, because, some of the enemies had some cool looking stuff, and I would have liked to have had that, but it's on a drop system, so I can't really... I have a choice. I'm given what I'm given.
That's understandable. I think you hit on a lot of excellent points about it, really. From my perspective, is this the game I have waited for so long? Are my expectations meet? Am I disappointed? Am I happy? I'm certainly not disappointed. The only disappointing part is, again, the bugs and just certain tiny things to me. I see a game that I want to say this is a 10 out of 10 game, but there is stuff standing in the way of that, blocking it. And I just don't know. I'd have to continue playing onwards. It's completely understandable for those of you who are genuinely angry with, like the console experience so far and CD Projekt Red's handling of it. They did say coming when it's ready, or it runs well on last-gen consoles. And for a lot of people, it's like, you told me something and I put my trust in that, and now it's harmed. But just from what I'm going through, this is the first time in a long time that a game has continually held me. I haven't lost any interest in continuing onwards. It's a world that fascinates me. I want to see every inch of it and learn all about it. I love the story that I'm being walked through. I love the side stories I'm being walked through. Every single one is worth the time and investment. I enjoy my gunplay, I enjoy the action, I enjoy the thrill, and I enjoy also the simple moments of just kind of looking around, listening to music, and enjoying myself. I don't know what score to give this game right now, because it needs a little more time in the oven. It probably should have had more. But for now, I'm enjoying it, and I will look forward to giving a full-fledged review on it. And I hope those of you who are interested in picking it up, you don't need to feel rushed. But when you do sit down and put your time in a nice city, and hopefully in a good, fixed-up state, I don't think you'll be disappointed with it. I think it'll deliver an experience on the scale that The Witcher gave a lot of people. I believe that sounds fair to you?
Yeah, I think so. This is just talking about the first impressions of the game. The game's really good. It's really fun. Obviously, it needs some fine-tuning, and there's definitely a few things missing that I'm pretty sure everybody's probably pointed out by now or gone on Twitter to complain about. But just from a game perspective, it's good. It does what it needed to do. I think it was worth the wait. Obviously there's more, but just from a first impression, I definitely enjoyed what I got out of it.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly 100% agree with you on that sentiment, and I'm looking forward to more. We'll see what the future brings for this game. Hopefully the patches start rolling out in these next few months. We're supposed to get, Witcher-size expansions, if not even bigger than that, which a lot of people say like those were almost whole, entirely new games in themselves. We'll see what happens. But for now, that about sums up the experience. I'll probably post some more related to the game in time. Just for the time being, please give me time for the review, because I want to enjoy and savor this while I still can. And when the PS5 version does drop, yeah, I'll return for that. I'll do a PS5 upgrade video and maybe take a another jab at, okay, what's the state of the game, and if you don't mind, you could come along and we'll talk about how is it all this time later. Would that sound fair to you?
Yep. It's good to me.
Alright. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed us rambling on about this and, you know, kind of looking at it from all angles, giving a deep dive on our thoughts and perspectives on the game. And hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask. And hey, hope you'll look forward to more. So, in the meantime, everyone, whatever you're doing, take care, stay safe out there, and hope you have happy holidays. So, after that, we'll log on next time. See you, everyone.
Later.